about the potential loss to the community literacy practice, given what you're saying. And I think that the solution from my perspective is that 95% of people who are employed, 85 to 95% of people who we talk to, of the people who are employed in this country are employed by small and medium-sized enterprises. Some of them don't have a lunchroom, never mind a training room. So in order to be able to provide any kind of workplace training to these people, I'm thinking that the solution is to offer it in community. And so in Alberta, we have 85 across the province funded by the government learning centers or places for adult learning. I'm thinking that that's where community literacy practitioners can start to fill the gap, is to bring the people from the small and medium-sized companies in their area to these learning centers and work with them there, doing workplace essential skills training. Would you agree?
I'd
get that point across.
I'd agree, and I'm going to give you a funny answer. I've been helping most of the nationals and a fair number of the provinces with what I'd call strategic planning. And so we worked with Frontier. Go through this story with Frontier, and they say, well, what are you telling us, Scott? And my message to them was, decide who you want to serve. I'm not saying you have to serve everybody. Decide who you want to serve. And they decided to stick with who their traditional market is, the sort of the dispossessed end. The second message was, make sure you get enough money to help those people. So don't try to do for $360 what we know more or less is going to take $1,700. And they've taken those messages and used them to focus their. So I want the community-based programs, the college-based programs, to actually start talking about knitting together a program to serve everybody in the most efficient and effective way. Yep.
Just wondering if that whole idea of supply and demand ties into literacy networks developing niches so that community-based doesn't, so that every sector in that network doesn't try to do everything.
It tried to do everything, absolutely. That's and we know we're one of the few countries in the world that has data on skill loss. So we know that about 15% of the literacy that was created by education evaporated between 94 and 2003. We have no reason to believe that that's changed since. And so finding ways for firms to create better jobs and people to lead more literate lives has to figure highly there. The place where I end up disagreeing with people want to run campaigns and put ads up. I think it's the economic incentives are by far the most powerful ones, that if your job requires it and you got to use it. I remember somebody said about the PDQ testing, we have longitudinal data from 3 countries now that show one should not expect big learning gains at the end point of instruction. It's only if those people go out into a job and use it or use it in their daily life that you see learning gain. And so the gains aren't showing up until a year out. So from an accountability point of view, if you agree to accountability measures, you better make sure that that test gets done far enough away from the instructional endpoint so that you have a chance of showing that you've done what you were paid to do. One more question, and then I got to ask you to fill in your evaluation sheet, and thank you for your time and attention. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Talks about students who were stuck in the room with mathematical problems, and the students in North America would give up after a very small number of minutes, but students from other countries would go on and on and on, having to stop. So, following this morning's message, I just wanted.
Well, I'll tell you an anecdote, and I hope no one in the room is offended by swearing, but it's a quote, so I can get away with it. We've done work for the Chinese education minister. He's an electrical engineer, educated at the State University of New York in Buffalo. So he talks funny English, just like an upstate New Yorker. I get him drunk. That's what Scotsmen do, so that we could loosen him up and he could say what's really on his mind. And what was on his mind, and I can boil it down to the quote at the end of it, he says, Our goal is to educate the top 10% of our population to world-class levels. If we do that, you're fucked. That's what he said. Because they will have like 160 million people from the top end of an IQ distribution who are well-trained and are still working at 40% of what our labor costs are. And closing that productivity gap is a huge challenge.
The question exactly on that is, in the same way the environmental movement after Al Gore started to get on and understand the urgency, I'm just wondering, when you see the big picture, we're going to pick up on the urgency.
Well, I can't tell too many tales out of school, but close to the recession beginning, we were talking to the McGuinty government, to the McGuinty. He was going to invest because they saw that the car companies and the forestry industry were sunset industries, jobs we'll never keep. Then the recession hit, and all of that money went to Windsor, Oakville, and Oshawa. Now, whether they ever get around to coming back to that, I don't know, because the demographics also say that the cost of pensions and health are eating up all the fiscal space, so they don't have any room to maneuver. So there's about a 2-year window until they're trapped. So thank you for your time and attention. Go look at the profiles, find your favorite community, and then tease the people there. Thanks.